We're going to talk about creating awesome calls to action, and my name is Bob Stewart. If you want to talk to me today or you want to share something that I talk about, you can do that by using the hashtag you can talk to me on Twitter at ActiveBob. That's where you can find me. I'm also on Facebook at facebook.com/ActiveBob if you want to connect with me there. Carrie told me to get in the Christmas spirit or the giving spirit of the season, so I'm going to give an ActiveRain t-shirt. They're really cool. They say "Let it rain" on them. I'll give an ActiveRain t-shirt to one person that tweets at me as we are going through today's class, and I'll just pick one of the tweets out that comes through, and somebody will get sent an ActiveRain t-shirt. Carrie said, "I've got a bunch of t-shirts here that are on deck getting ready to be sent out. Let's add one to the pile." So somebody send me a tweet at ActiveBob, and we'll get you guys a t-shirt for the holiday season. But if you're in the sunny areas, it does say "Let it rain," so you might think twice before you tweet at me. All right, creating awesome calls to action. So one of the things that we need to understand when we start to think about our blog and just internet marketing in general is, why do people go online as it relates to real estate? And in some of our previous classes, I've talked about this, but there's really 3 reasons why people go online as it relates to real estate. Okay, they go online to find listings, they go online to find home values, and they go online to find information. And our blog is going to serve as a source of information for the people that are going online. Okay, so they're looking for information about neighborhoods, or they're looking for real specific sorts of homes, and we talk about that in our 2 previous classes, some of the ways that we can gear our blog posts towards finding people who are looking for very specific sorts of properties. But at the end of the day, a lot of the folks that are going online that are going to end up becoming leads for our business are actually looking for listings. They want to find the listings, and sometimes it could be that a piece of information we share with them leads them to say, okay, I can't afford to qualify for a home, so now I want to look at them. But ultimately, a lot of them are going to end up saying, okay, I just want to find the listings, right? The piece of information served to let me know that, yeah, I can fulfill my goal of being a homeowner or having that next home. So where are the listings? And then people will also go online for home values, and we'll maybe talk about a couple of ways that you might be able to generate leads on somebody that was online looking for home values or was thinking about home values, especially in conjunction with the type of information that we would be serving up with our blog post. But this primary reason, and this is the reason why most folks are going online, and if we look at kind of the search behavior of kind of the average consumer, they're going online to find listings, right? Even if they're going to be selling at some point, they're still, for the most part, going to be buying something after that. And so the idea of them being able to find listings is very important. So with the calls to action that we have in our blog, we have to think about how can we get these people to actually finding listings. And the most obvious way that we can do that, or kind of the first way that we will talk about, is links in our blog posts. Okay, so there's a few things that we want to think about or look at every time we add a link into a blog post. We want to make sure that it has specific anchor text. And anchor text is just going to be the words out of which we create the link. Okay, and I'll show you an example of that here in a second. The next part of the link, so we've got this specific piece of anchor text. We want to make sure that when somebody clicks on that link, we're landing them in an exact spot. And this is ultra important. I cannot impress upon you enough how important it is that you are able, and this is going to be a function of your IDX or your website that displays listings, and we'll look at that here in a minute, but you need to be able to land them in an exact spot. Okay? When you land them in that exact spot, it should take as few clicks as possible, or it should take as few clicks as possible from your blog post to get them to listings without them having to take extra steps. Okay, there's a couple of kind of truths in internet marketing in general, and this has to do not just with real estate, but it has to do with e-commerce, or really anything where people might buy things or enter information online. And that concept says the more clicks it takes you to get somebody to take the action that you were hoping they'd take, the more clicks it takes them, the higher likelihood it is that they will leave and not take that action. So we want to get them to the place we want them in as few of clicks as possible. And then your listings need to be the primary focus of the landing page when we're thinking in terms of creating links out of our blog posts that are heading back to particular listings. So here's an example. So this is a post that I believe it's from Adrian Willinger. He's a member of ActiveRain out of Seattle. This is a post where Adrian's written about homes for sale in Seattle Cedar Park. And in our SEO class, we talked about these kinds of posts. We talked about these kinds of posts in our class last week about keyword phrases. But the idea here is he's written about homes for sale in a particular neighborhood of Seattle, in this case, Cedar Park. When we start to think about our links, and somebody will probably ask the question towards the end, well, how many links should I have in my blog post? I'm going to say you should probably have no more than about 3 to 5 links in your blog post. And the very first link that you should have in your blog post, especially when it's kind of related to this sort of a thing here where he's written about homes for sale in a particular condo complex, homes for sale in a particular part of town, homes for sale with particular features. In this case, he's written about homes for sale in Cedar Park. We want to have a link in there that gets them back to be able to search for listings that relate to what we're talking about. So in this case, that first link he has in there, and you can see he's got it in kind of that first paragraph. It's going to say homes for sale in Seattle Cedar Park. So that becomes the anchor text for his link. His anchor text is homes for sale in Seattle Cedar Park. Somebody would expect that if they click on that, they're going to find what? Homes for sale in Seattle Cedar Park. And when they click there, they want to be able to find those with as few of clicks as possible. Okay? I write in there above the fold, and what that means is that when somebody lands on the page, without having to scroll down, they can see the link. Okay, so this is important because if they landed on this page out of a search that they did in Google, and they were really expecting to find the listings, not just information about what it would be like to live in Cedar Park or information about Cedar Park in general, right? If they really just wanted the listings, we got to make it clear to them very quickly that there is an ability for them to find the active listings in Cedar Park. So let's talk for a minute about the landing page, and this is going to be important for a lot of the different calls to action that we talk about here today. This landing page. So I'm going to use an example of a landing page that's from Market Leader, and in the spirit of full disclosure, Market Leader owns ActiveRain. There are other IDX providers out there that offer this kind of an IDX capability. So you may have one of these already. If you don't have something like what I'm about to show you, again, I can't impress upon you enough how ultra important this piece of being able to generate leads online is. So let's say that I had written this post. I was Adrian, right? He'd written this post about homes for sale in Cedar Park in Seattle. And I wanted to create a link out of my blog that came back to a page on my website that actually displayed properties in Cedar Park. So what I need to do is I need to come into my own website here, okay? And I would actually perform a search in advance. So I would come over here and say Seattle, and I've already done that, but had I not, I would come in here to my own website. I would say Seattle, okay? And then I have an ability on a website like the one we're looking at here, and hopefully you have something like this, okay? I have an ability to actually look at a specific area. So in this case, I'm going to say Cedar Park. All right, now when I run this search, now I could do some other stuff over here. Maybe I was just doing a post about, every home for sale in Seattle with a basement, or every home for sale in Seattle under $300,000. Right? No matter what the search or the blog post I've written, there's a way for me to kind of find a page on my website that gets them really close to what it was that they found on my blog or what they think they would be getting if they were to click the link out of my blog post. And again, in Adrian's case, it was homes for sale in Seattle Cedar Park. So we want to make sure if somebody was to click that link, that's what they're getting right away. So when we come in here and we perform this search, what we're going to see is, 7 homes, right, that are available right now in Cedar Park. And there's actually some lots in here. So if I wanted to come back and refine that and only find the homes, I could come in here and kind of get rid of the lots and the other stuff that might be showing up in that search and just give them my single family or condos, again, in Cedar Park, Seattle. Right, so this one's probably going to give me fewer than, so before it was 7, now it's down to 4. So there's actually 4 homes right now currently on the market and available for sale in Cedar Park, Seattle. So this page right here, this big long URL is going to be the page that I would actually link to. Let's take a real quick look at how you just create a link. And this is for, 75, 80% of you guys on the call today. It's going to be a review, but I want to make sure that there's nobody out there just going, okay, wait a minute, anchor text link, like what is he talking about? So, Adrian's post had that link in there that utilized this anchor text. So he would have written, an opening sentence that talked about how awesome Cedar Park was, and then somewhere in there, again, above the fold, he would have had that first link that went to actual homes for sale in Cedar Park. So at this point, to create the link, I'm just going to highlight the anchor text or the words that I want to make the link out of. I'm going to come in here, hit insert or edit link. Okay. I'm going to paste in that link that I'd grabbed, right? This link right here. Oh, that's not it. Oh my goodness. Come back. That's the link we want. So copy it, Command C. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to paste it in there. Okay, so this big long link, right, that's going to lead them to a search of homes for sale in Cedar Park. I'm going to set this to open in the same window. Here's why I do that. And so there's 2 options here. There's open link in the same window, and there's open link in a new window. If I am sending somebody to a page where I want them to be, I'm going to open the link in the same window because essentially my blog has fulfilled its duty. Its duty was to get them there and then to get them to my website, because on my website is where I would display listings to them. It's where I would potentially capture their information. Maybe I've got some lead capture opportunities on my website, right? So I don't care if they ever get back to my blog post. I wanted them on my website, so I'm going to open that link in the same window. If I was linking off to a site where I would prefer, like if I was sending them to the homeowners association's website, or I was sending them to the builder's website, or I was sending them to the park's website or the school's website, but I'd want them back on my blog post, like them clicking that link didn't fulfill my purpose, then I would open that link in a new window, because what it will do is it will force open a new tab or a new browser window so that when they close that, my blog post is still there. Okay, because if I send them off to get information on the homeowners association and they spent 5 minutes over there poking around, and then when they close that, I want them still on my blog, because the goal of my blog was to get them to my IDX site to look at listings. So when I'm sending them to the IDX site, I can open in the same window. If I'm sending them off to some other website that's not, mine, I want to open that in a new window. So in this case, we'll open it in the same window. And then for the title, I'm just going to use a similar but different phrase to my anchor text. So I might say, houses in Cedar Park on the market currently, something like that. And I'm going to just hit insert. So now I've got a link here. So let's give this a title and then we can test. So I'd come down here, post my blog entry, and now I've got a link in there, right, that if somebody clicks on it, it's going to take this window over. So we've lost the blog post now because we told it to open in the same window. But now they've been dropped on a page where they can find all of the current inventory that's available in Cedar Park, Seattle right now. Okay, we're not sending them to our home page, right? I'm not sending them to this page and making them come in here and try to figure out where to go to find the houses in Cedar Park. Okay, because look, if they landed on this page right here, if we landed them on this search page and they thought they were getting homes for sale in Cedar Park, how many clicks do they have to take? Well, they got to take 1 click, that's a couple of keystrokes, it's another click, It's down here if they can even find this subdivision portion down at the bottom, right? So there's a bunch of clicks and action involved in them finding the content that I told them they were going to get. I want to eliminate that step for them. So what I'd like all of you guys to do, you could do it right now while I continue to talk. At some point here, when we finish, or even right now, I want you to see, is your website capable of getting someone a link that can land them on a specific set of properties? Again, this is ultra important. If you're not able to do this, you are putting yourself at a major disadvantage for being able to create or generate leads online. Because again, at the end of the day, a lot of these people want listings, and we need to get them there as fast and as succinct as possible. So being able to land them on these exact sorts of pages is ultra, ultra important. And again, from the landing page, right, we talked about, is it what they wanted? Is it what they thought they were going to get? Is it what they told them, or what we told them they were going to get? Do they get it in as few clicks as possible? And is it very obvious when they get there that they found what they wanted? And so one of the reasons I talk about having your listings be the primary focus of that landing page is because that's what they wanted. Okay, when they clicked homes for sale in Cedar Park, Seattle, they expected to get those houses there. All right. I always think about these things in terms of like my website. If I was ever going to post something on Twitter or on Facebook, and here's an example of something that I might use my website or some of the landing pages I could build out of my website or out of a good website. It might not be yours right now, but you want to be specific and have a target. And so if I was going to be using Twitter to potentially, share some of the real estate information that I might have at my fingertips, I would think in terms of sharing things that are highly desirable or not very abundant. And so in Seattle, for instance, like condos in Seattle under 200,000 with 3 bedrooms, right? That's a very specific sort of a search, right? These things are highly desirable and not very plentiful, right? In fact, when I built these slides out, there was 3 of that type of a home. So if I was going to share something on Twitter, if I wanted to create kind of a strategy for how I might use Twitter to generate leads for my real estate business, it would really be based on putting out things that I know people are interested in, but there's not very many of them out there, right? And so my understanding of my market would, lead me to know that, look, condos under 200,000 with 3 bedrooms, these don't come up very often. And so when they're out there, people need to jump on them. So I could come in here with my IDX, okay? And again, this isn't for your blog. This is just kind of good general information if you have a great IDX. But, I could come in here and create a search for condos in Seattle under 300,000, right, with 3 bedrooms. So that search right there, this would be a page so that's funny because the last time I did this, it looks like there's a couple of new buildings out there that have a bunch of condos in. Last time there was 3 of them. So maybe I say, well, let's see, can we get any that are under 250,000? And I could come in here, and so now there's 13, right? So I'm just creating that idea when I go out on Twitter. Look, I'm able to find you some really great deals, and if you click through to those and those sound like something you're looking for, a condo for sale under 250,000. Actually, maybe I did 200 last time. That's what it was. You get the point, right? There's 5 of them. There's 5 condos in Seattle right now that somebody could get their hands on for under $200,000 that have 3+ bedrooms. Right? There's 1 or there's 2 that have 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, right? That might be something even better for me to be sharing on my Twitter. But you guys really think about what are some of the kind of the desirable properties in affordable price points. Those are some of the things that I would be sharing on Twitter, like foreclosures in Redmond under 300,000, right? Check out these 2 great properties. All right, so we talked about links. All right, let's talk about another way that we might be able to get people to take action on our blogs, and it would be to use images. Okay, so I created these literally in 5 minutes. It might take you a little bit longer the first time you were to do something like this, but the idea is once I have the image created, then I can create a link out of that image in my blog post. And so I mentioned on this slide here, there's a website called iPicky.com, and it's really easy to create these kinds of images. Like I said, these ones took me about 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes. The first time you do it, it's going to take you 5 minutes. It could literally take you 2 or 3 minutes to be able to create an image like this. Normally, the hardest part is figuring out what image you want to use. So once I have an image like that, in order to place it into my blog, and let's get back here to my blog post, it's going to be super easy. Well, it might not be super easy to get back to my blog post. There it is. If I wanted to place an image in here and create a link out of that image, I'm just going to come in here and grab the image. Let's see, I think I have one in here for a Wallingford house with click. So I've actually put click here to find short sales in Wallingford, right? So if I was writing about short sales in Wallingford, Seattle, I might choose to have this blog or this image in here, right? Click here to find short sales in Wallingford. Whatever, I'm just going to insert it. We're not doing a picture inserting class today. We've learned about that in other classes, hopefully. So I've got my image in here. And if I wanted to make a link out of that now, all I'm going to do, I'm going to click on my image. I'm going to pull this up, and then I'm going to tell it where to send this thing. And again, in this case, where would I go? Find short sales in Wallingford. I really want to make sure that my website allows them. And I'm going to keep coming back to this because this is that important. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say Wallingford. So let's get rid of Seattle. Let's see if I can do a search for Wallingford. I can. So Wallingford and all the short sales that are currently available. Maybe I even add multifamily in here. And I'm going to search for those. And it's going to pull up the 9 short sale properties that are currently available in Wallingford. Okay, so if somebody was to click on this link, right, or this image that I'd created, it's going to lead them back. And again, I'm going to open in the same window, and I'm going to call this Wallingford, Seattle short sales. And I'm going to insert it. And now I've got a link that when I post my blog post, right, it's an image with a call to action on the image and a link leading them off to the 9 short sale properties in Wallingford. A year from now, when my blog post is still out there because these things have incredible staying and lasting power, when somebody clicks on this, it's going to give them the current properties that are available, the current short sales that are available in Wallingford. So if today there's 9, a year from now there might be 13 or there might be 5, right? But it's going to land them on a page that shows them those currently available properties based on the criteria that I set up that got me my link. Okay, so there's a lot of ways I think that, there's a lot of ways that you could use these images. You got to kind of get creative with them, okay? And a lot of times they're going to be based on whatever it was you were speaking about in your blog. So if my blog post was about, new construction in Kirkland under 400,000, well, that makes sense that would be my image call to action, right? So entice them with images. And again, super easy at iPicky.com. It literally take you no more than 5 minutes or maybe 10 the first time if you're somebody that stumbles around with these kinds of things. But do a couple of them and it'll get pretty easy. There's other sites like iPicky as well. We could actually embed the listings right in our content in some cases, and assuming that we have the right tools. Okay, I see a lot of people around ActiveRain who use Realbird. Realbird.com, you can see kind of in the bottom left-hand corner there, realbird.com. It's a service. They have a free service. They've got a paid version of their service. It's a little bit more robust. they're in no way affiliated with us. They're just a good product that a lot of our members are using. But it allows us to take our listings and to be able to get them right embedded into the content on the page. If you're really interested in RealBird, my suggestion to you would be to go to ActiveRain, use the search function on ActiveRain, and type in, listing embed with RealBird or RealBird listings on ActiveRain or something like that. You're going to find a number of posts from different members of ActiveRain that have written about how they use RealBird. You'll find some content from RealBird, who's an active participant on ActiveRain, talking about how other agents are using RealBird. The idea here, though, would be at the bottom of your post, you would be able to embed a piece of content or embed one of these listing maps that's a call to action, right? As people hover over these things, the listings pop up, and it gives you a chance to capture their information. Maybe we can entice them with a deal, right? Everybody wants a deal. People go online and they think, "Ooh, I'm gonna get a great deal. I'm gonna buy a foreclosure. I'm gonna buy a short sale." Really, we're using these things as a way to generate that person as a prospect or a lead for our business. They might not ultimately end up buying a foreclosure, right? Banks want these Green Lake foreclosures sold. Find them here, right? That's going to be a link back again to my website where I can give them all of the foreclosures in Green Lake. Okay, so I could come in here and based on my IDX, assuming that I have the capability of doing these kinds of things, right? I could set up a search that just gave them foreclosures in Green Lake. Let's see if there are any. Oh, yep, hey, there's 6. Okay, so really think about some of the ways that you can kind of entice people to click, to take action. And we all know that everybody out there, like they dream of buying the foreclosure for $200,000 that's worth $400 or whatever it is. But these are things that kind of get people to take action, right? And we want to make these deals kind of obvious on the page for them. So this is another way that we could use images, okay, by enticing them with some kind of a deal. In here, here's a better example of how I place the image in, right? This would be something that was clickable, where somebody could actually click on that to find the properties that we just pulled up on the search there a second ago. Okay, but it's wrapped in our text, and it's just a part of a post that I may have written about bank foreclosures for sale in Green Lake. I can't say this enough because, we learned this the hard way. Okay, we learned that landing people in the wrong places can cost you a lot of traffic, a lot of leads, and in our case, a lot of money. When we first started doing lead generation online, we jumped right into pay-per-click, and we had a real estate company prior to starting ActiveRain, and we were very aggressive in the search engines. We ranked very well, but we also supplemented that with a lot of pay-per-click advertising. And one of the things that we quickly learned is because we would do advertising for homes for sale in Seattle, and we always thought, you know what, if we just drop them, we don't want to drop them on a list of homes for sale that's like every home in Seattle, because then how do you sort it? You sort from low to high. Do you sort from highest to lowest? If it's highest to lowest, they land there and the properties are all $15 million and the average person's not looking for that. So, we would start to really kind of hone our pay-per-click advertising. So if we were doing homes for sale in Seattle, we were dropping them on average price points between $300,000 and $500,000. And we just got very good at realizing that the closer we could get somebody to what it probably was that they wanted, the more likelihood it was that they would take action, that they would start clicking through listings, that they would get to the pages in our website that became those lead capture pages. And so you always, always, always want to make sure that you're able to land them in the right spot, or that you are landing them in the right spot. And if you're not able, right, then a lot of the action we take, a lot of the traffic we can generate back to our website ends up becoming nothing for us because they fumble around in there. They have to click in different places. They're not exactly sure, right? They're a consumer who's maybe landing on a real estate website for the first time or the 5th time, but definitely not the 100th time like we've all been on our own websites. Okay, so we've got to make sure that we're able to land them in the right spots and that we actually do it. If you have search widgets, so like the market leader product, a lot of the different IDX products that are out there do have these kinds of search widgets that we can embed into our blog posts. We'll see a lot of members on ActiveRain that have those search widgets embedded on the right-hand side of their blog or that right column of their blog. So if you have a search widget, they're generally generated by a piece of HTML code, but this is something where you could place your search widgets into your blog content. And in that fashion, because not every single blog post you write is going to be about homes for sale in Cedar Park or condos for sale in a certain condo complex. You may be putting out just good pieces of information in general, things like, the 5 steps to get ready to buy your next house. So in that case, we don't necessarily know, like, where would the links go? It wouldn't necessarily go to a home for sale in Seattle or Seattle foreclosure or something like that, right? We might just want to give them the option to search for homes in an area where they see fit based on a piece of content that we created that wasn't necessarily geographic specific. So these kind of search for homes widgets, if you have these, you have the capability of creating these based on your IDX. These are something that you want to make sure that you would get in somewhere on the page, and that could be in the body of the post itself. It could be in that right-hand column on your ActiveRain blog where you can add different widgets and those sorts of things. Home values. So people go online to search for home values. So we might consider using some kind of an image call to action. Hey, if you're looking for how much your home is worth, get a free professional opinion. And I realize at this point, it seems to me anyway, that the idea of like a free CMA, right, or a free market analysis of your home or something like that is, I don't know if that's necessarily original, right? Everybody does those, but consumers may not know that. They may not know that you're willing to give them that free opinion of their home's value. So make sure, if your blog post in any way relates to the idea that they might be selling, you want to have that opportunity for them to reach out and contact you. And so using these kind of image calls to action, you need to think about, where does my link in this scenario go? So if you have a page on your website where somebody could give you their address, their name, their phone number, those sorts of things, you may link back to that page on your website that allows them to give you the information you need in order to get started, at least creating a CMA for them. Zillow has the widgets, and there's all kinds of fuss in the last week or two. Somebody put out a study that says that these kinds of widgets are helping Zillow perform better in the search engines. It's true, okay? But they still have these widgets where somebody can get the free home value estimates. And the way Zillow is set up, that if somebody follows that widget back, if you created the widget as a member of Zillow, it actually brands all the pages then that person would ever look at with your advertising and your an ability for them to contact you. So these things are a little bit iffy in terms of, the people using them are creating good backlinks for Zillow, but again, it is still a good resource for a consumer who might be on your blog. Embed forms. So you have an ability to actually embed forms directly into your blogs. Woofu.com, and Carrie will send you the link for Woofu. Woofu is a free service that allows you to create forms that you can easily embed into your blog post. So you build the form. Again, the first time you do this, it's probably going to take you, 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, right? The 5th time you do it, you're going to be down to 7 or 8 minutes. The 100th time you do it, you're going to be whipping these things out in 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, but you can create these forms, and then it gives you a simple piece of embed code that you can bring back to your blog post and drop in to the HTML section of your blog post. So if you don't have a page on your website that allows people to get a free valuation on your home, you could actually create that. I'll show you. Let me see if he still has this set up this way. And I didn't check this in advance, so I'm not 100% sure. Here it is. Okay, so Ben Kinney, he actually uses this page right here, liveauburn.com, and this is just an ActiveRain outside blog where he's created a form using Woofu that allows people to get free lists of bank-owned short sales properties in King and Pierce County, right? So he's actually used the form and just created a blog post out of it that he's dropped on this URL, right? And he actually runs pay-per-click advertising to this page. And the pay-per-click advertising is based on people who are doing searches like short sales in Auburn, short sales in King County, short sales in Pierce County, bank-owned homes in Pierce County, bank-owned homes in King County, right? And he's running pay-per-click advertising where he's dropping people here. So it's saying, hey, do you want a list of the most recent foreclosure properties? Fill out the form. And when they fill out the form, he's then capturing their contact information. So these kinds of forms, again, are really easy. We could create forms where the whole blog post is just the form. We could create forms where they embed in, at the end of a piece of content that we've written. So, and these things can say and do anything you want them to do, right? The different fields, we can decide what those are. It doesn't always have to be get a free valuation for your home. It could be, give me your information to get a free guide about getting your home ready to sell, or a free neighborhood guide, or really there's a lot of ideas out there for ways that you guys could utilize the content that you have, right? And not just necessarily give it away for free, but trade it in exchange for somebody's information. I like these aren't necessarily calls to action, but some of the better videos that I've seen people use in their blogs, I forget this guy's name now, Sonny something, but the watch my listing presentation, I love this idea here. He's got a 4-minute video that he embeds, and I've seen him embedded in various blog posts around ActiveRain, where he gives you his listing presentation. He realizes that his listing presentation is very strong, and he's not scared to share it with you. Now, this isn't necessarily a call to action in that somewhere in the video he's going to capture their information or get a lead from them. He's just reinforcing to them the value of who he is. This sort of a call to action, I guess we could loosely call it that, is going to result in phone calls, right? Somebody watching that, if he's really able to demonstrate how awesome how awesome of a job he does at selling your listing, this really can serve to reinforce the consumer that Sonny is the guy that they should be reaching out to and working with. Client testimonial videos, if you have these, or if you're considering doing things like these, again, this is just another reinforcement to somebody that you are the person they should be working with, right? We can shout from the rooftops all day long how awesome we are, but to have somebody else shouting it and that, be able to put these kind of things in front of the consumer can be very valuable for us. So then we talk about them wanting information, right? And our blog posts, again, serve as kind of really a clearinghouse for all of the information that we might have about our market. And as we create more and more posts, we're sharing more and more things. This is how people are going to find us a lot of times when they're looking for information, whether that be about the neighborhood or the process or just something specifically, some question that they have that we've answered in our blog posts. Make it easy for them to ask for more details. And so there's Google Voice widget, the idea of call me, right? I would hope that somewhere in your signature lines or something you have your phone number, right? We want to make it really obvious that if somebody does just need to pick up the phone and ask us a question, that they can do that. So your signature line is going to be important, but these kinds of, this Google Voice widget, or just something that makes it more obvious to them that, okay, well, here's a place where I could actually reach out and call this person. Again, we talk about driving them to forms, okay? The next slide is where I was just going to go into. Something of value to deliver them, okay? So you always got to be thinking in terms of, they might want the listings, or we hope they want the listings, but if they don't, are there other things that I can do, right? Other kind of trigger points that I can rely on to get them to either click or to fill out the form or to see the image and click on it, right? Best price properties. Again, we talked about foreclosures and short sales. These are kind of hot words or buzzwords that people are interested in, right? They always want to get that great deal. Maybe it's discounts on services. So maybe you're offering them a half off their home inspection if they buy with the Bob Stewart real estate team or whatever, right? We can create these kinds of calls to action, driving them back to either places on our website where we have forms or forms that we've created and embedded into blog posts. Excuse me. Free resources, a short sale guide. Maybe it's pocket listings that we have. Market Leader I sat in on a really interesting meeting yesterday at Market Leader from a company called Hebert Research. And they did a study for us, and we haven't even talked about this. We just saw the results yesterday. But one of the questions that came out of that study, and it was a study of like 500 people who have bought or sold a home in the last year. And one of the questions was asked, in the buying process, what was some information that you looked for that wasn't you weren't easily able to find as you got ready to buy? And one of the answers was short sale information. One of the answers was information about my neighborhoods. One of the answers was nobody explained to me what the entire process was going to be. So there's all sorts of things that we have or things that we know that for us seem like second nature that may not necessarily be second nature for somebody who's especially buying their first house, but even buying their third, right? So some of these processes, some of this content you might consider utilizing in exchanging for their information. So if it's a short sale guide or a list of the best neighborhoods in Seattle, right? These are the kinds of things that even though we might have them out somewhere on our blog for someone to be able to find, maybe we can utilize these things in other blog posts to exchange for consumers' information. So if you have a downloadable PDF, let's say I created a short sale guide and I turned it into a PDF, right? Here's a way that I could exchange it for their information, okay? I need to find somewhere to host it. So we host all of our PDFs, like when you guys have done these past classes with us, we host them on Wistia.com, right? You can host these things in Google Docs, there's Dropbox, there's all kinds of places where we can go online to host the PDF. Then we could create a form, so we could do that using Wufoo, okay? And the form would essentially say, just like Ben's did here, right? Ben's got the liveauburn.com, and it had give me your information to get a list of the foreclosures in King County. Okay? When they fill out the form, there's an ability on Wufoo to build in an auto reply, and it works in two ways. The auto reply either pops up right after they fill out the form and says, here's the URL, go here to get your guide, or go here to get your list, right? Or we can set it up to email them out. So they put their email address in. When they hit submit on the form, an email goes out to them that says, here's the link back to Wistia or back to Dropbox that has the PDF that you can download. That's your free short sale guide or your free list of the best communities in Seattle or your free list of foreclosures that are currently on the market. All right, I wanted to do, so the survey yesterday really got me because there was a lot of really good information in it, and I've been going over it for about the last 24 hours because it's like 90 pages of survey data. And one of the things that just literally, it shocked me, one of the questions that was asked was, how did you go about researching the home that you were potentially going to purchase? And you would expect to see a very high result for I went online. And in fact, there was. In our survey, it was like 82%. And NAR says that 90%, or it's getting up close to 90% of people are going online to look at real estate. But the survey we did, 82% of the people went online to research the property. There was a couple of other very shocking numbers in there. And one of them was that 50% of the people actually got out in their car and drove around. And maybe that's not that shocking, but to me that just seems like a lot. And so if I know that half of the potential buyers are out there driving around, on the weekends, like going to open houses, and I mean that should kind of reinforce to you that open houses might still be an important thing, but they're out there driving around, and what are they doing? They're passing by our signs, they're picking our flyers up. So this is a real world call to action that I would really encourage you guys to be thinking about, and that would be, are your signs generating leads, right? So think about your signs just like you would have your blog as kind of that online potential for you to generate leads. Your most visible offline opportunity is your signs. And if your signs are not generating leads for you, you might want to take another look at what you're doing with your signs. And eProperty Sites offers these kinds of, and again, they're not affiliated with us in any way, but they offer these kind of text to capture lead opportunities for your signs. So just remember, we're doing a lot of stuff with our blogs here, or we're trying to do a lot of stuff with our blogs to generate leads, but one of your most visible offline opportunities is going to be your signs. And based on the data that I saw yesterday, people are still driving around and looking at houses, maybe not as much as they did in the past, but still half of the people we surveyed actually got in their car and drove around. The most ridiculous stat I saw out of that was 24% of the people actually reported looking in the newspaper. I don't know where these people come from. I didn't even know they still did newspapers, but there you have it.